I'm extremely delighted and honored to be here because it is a topic and a subject with which we are all extremely concerned and exercised. The other point is that I have met a number of my very old elder friends in Delhi. We have got together after a very long time. We have former Vice Chief of the Indian Navy, Admiral Raman Puriji, one of the most seasoned diplomats of the Indian Foreign Service, and a very dear elder friend, Ambassador Virendra Gupta. I don't know whether you're aware that one of the leading Indian nuclear experts, Dr. Rajiv Nayan, extremely happy to be with him here at his invitation. Dr. Dipankar Sengupta, Sarupda, and of course, the unmissable Professor Ashwini Mahapatra. We have traveled half the world together a decade ago. Uh, and of course, my very dear friend Arindam Mukherjee. And I do not know whether the audience has been told that Arindam is a phenomenal photographer. And he has a magnificent collection of photographs on Bangladesh. I think it's an unparalleled collection that he has, and I can bet that collection. I think neither the IGNCA nor the Ministry of Culture, certainly not the Makayas, possesses that kind of collection. I hope someday we can really look at it and produce something worthwhile. He has traveled more in Bangladesh, the ins and out. He has a greater network in Bangladesh, and therefore, I think the ARSP as well as Makayas have done a great service to the narrative in Bangladesh. By holding this conference, you have done a great service to the Hindus in Bangladesh, to the minorities in Bangladesh. And therefore, Sarupda and your entire team and all those who have spoken in this conference, and I see it's a formidable array of people who have spoken. I must really salute you and hats off to you. Arindam made a very interesting point, and I'll just share a few thoughts because it's always difficult to be in the valedictory session, not having attended the other sessions. But I think it has been such a comprehensive conference that all that was perhaps needed to be said at this point of time on Bangladesh, keeping in mind the rapidly evolving situation, I think has been discussed here. And Arindam was, I think, very right. He hit the nail on the head when he said, and look at the irony, that when Bangladesh, so-called second time free Bangladesh, so-called, the proponents of free Bangladesh on 26th March are embarking on a journey to China. So I think that is for everyone to understand and judge the situation, the direction, and the mindset of those who are professing to liberate Bangladesh for a second time. You must have read the letter that Prime Minister Modi has written to Dr. Yunus. And Prime Minister Modi says, this day stands as a testament to our shared history and sacrifices, which have laid the foundation of our bilateral partnership. The spirit of liberation war of Bangladesh continues to remain a guiding light. The spirit of liberation war of Bangladesh continues to remain a guiding light for our relationship, which has flourished across multiple domains, bringing tangible benefits to our people. We remain committed to advancing this partnership, driven by our common aspirations for peace, stability, prosperity, and based on mutual sensitivity to each other's interests and concern. So I think there are two dimensions to this letter. One is the spirit of the liberation war. And obviously those who have bulldozed 32 Dhanmondi, those who have chiseled and brought down statues of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib, And those who want a Sharia driven, Sharia led Bangladesh cannot accept the spirit of the liberation war. They are basically functioning against that spirit. And second is mutual sensitivity. While we are aware of that, what that mutual sensitivity is, Bangladesh or the interim arrangement, I don't call it an interim government, I don't know what it is. It is an interim arrangement. The interim arrangement and the head of the interim arrangement, I'm not very sure whether it knows, whether they know what the mutually sensitiveness is. Now, I just go back from March back onwards, very briefly, because I believe these things have been discussed, and a valedictory session after a 2-day session post a 2-day conference post lunch is always very heavy. And obviously, someone who's the one who's speaking, he likes to keep hearing his voice. But for those who are having to listen to him or her, it becomes a little taxing. In February 2025, the advisor, Tawhid Hussain, foreign affairs advisor to Dr. Yunus said, of course, Bangladesh will determine its stance, but at the same time, India also needs to decide what kind of relationship it wants with Bangladesh. This is a mutual matter, and there's nothing wrong in stating that. Countering that, Dr. Jaishankar said very clearly in February last month, 2025, the spate of attacks on minorities in Bangladesh obviously impacts our thinking, and it is something we have to speak up about, which we have done. The second aspect is that they have their own politics, but at the end of the day, we are neighbors, and they have to make up their minds about what kind of relationship they want to have with us. You cannot, on one hand, say, I would now like to have good relations with you, but I get up every morning and blame you for everything that goes wrong. It is also a decision that they have to make. We have made our intentions clear. We would like to see things calm down and the resumption of normal bilateral ties, but we are unhappy with the constantly hostile messaging emanating from across the border. Friends, if you have followed the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh's Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha resolution on solidarity with Hindus in Bangladesh, and I believe we can talk about the RSS. It clearly says that persistent anti-Bharat rhetoric in Bangladesh can severely damage the relationship between the two countries. One, it also talks about activities of Pakistan and of the deep state, and speaks about a shared history and culture of this region. I think, friends, this is both these stands within a month quite fairly and quite substantially articulates India's position. India has also maintained that Bangladesh must do more to protect the welfare of its minority communities, particularly Hindus, and has raised concerns over their security. Now, if we keep slightly going back a little, I want to make a very few quick points. We know that the office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the United Nations, I don't know whether the point was discussed in the last 2 days, came out with a report. Now, the OHCHR, because the USCIRF has been designated by the Ministry of External Affairs today as an entity itself, as an entity which is itself of high concern. So therefore, the Office of the Commissioner of Human Rights brought out a report at the invitation of the UNUS arrangement. And in that, it has shown that such incidents were orchestrated, or it says that the report says, what does the UN Human Rights Commissioner report says? That after all their investigation, they have come to the conclusion that all these atrocities that have taken place in the last 8 months It has not shown that such incidents were orchestrated or organized by parties, national leaderships, by parties. And national leadership are taking steps to remedy the issue. And then it says, many perpetrators of acts of revenge violence and attack on distinct groups apparently continue to enjoy impunity. So on the one hand, you say that you have come conclusively, you say that it was not orchestrated violence. On the other hand, you say apparently they continue to enjoy impunity. That much for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee. Professor of International Relations will bear me out. I hope I am making sense. So I think it must be dismissed out of hand, because it was the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees office was invited by the Yunus dispensation, sir. And that is why obviously it is beholden to the Yunus dispensation, and it comes out with such a a kind of a garbled report. Now, when we talk about the deep state, there's a very interesting figure and fact that I want to place here before the House. Associate Professor Ainul Islam, Department of Political Science, Dhaka University. He is director of the Micro Governance Research Initiative. And this center called Micro Governance Research Initiative is the center which received a 29 million US dollar. And through the Micro Governance Research Initiative, 544 programs were conducted across Bangladesh with students all across the country until the end of 2022. Friends, when we look at the situation in Bangladesh today, let us not be under the impression that it was created all of a sudden. When we talk about the deep state, when the ABPS resolution flags the issue of deep state, this is the deep state. Now, I go a little more in detail. 10,264 university students participated in 544 programs. And a major challenge that Bangladesh faces today is the radicalization of campuses. And therefore, when the so-called students' protests were taking place, it was purely on an internal issue. It was on an internal issue which was in front of the Bangladesh Supreme Court to do with the Bangladesh government and civil society and the rest. But then why was consistently anti-India slogans being chanted from that? And who were those who were chanting it? They were primarily students, though there were others who were not students as well. So 10,264 students were exposed to this program across the country. And on January 7th, last year, Applied Democracy Lab was established at Dhaka University, which was funded by CEPPS, Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, which is the frontal organization of that whose name should not be taken, should not be pronounced, George Soros. And that is why President of the United States a few weeks ago had made this statement, 29 million US dollar given to an organization whose name no one has heard of to strengthen Bangladesh's political infrastructure. So this is a program, whoever has heard of it, strengthening political infrastructure. I see Dr. Dipankar Sengupta actually relishing this point, because I think there should be some very serious study about what is it meant by when you want to strengthen political infrastructure. And I'm sure many of you, most of you will agree with me, in 2024 May last year, when the Indian general elections concluded, there was a comprehensive effort at strengthening India's political infrastructure. So that much for the deep state. Now, I just want to give you two samples, and I'll request the respected chair to stop me when I need to, when you think it is enough. And I'll just give two examples here, and then we'll go on to a few more details. Now, who are those who are running Bangladesh today? Who are those who are professing to run Bangladesh today? I'll just give you two examples. You remember Brigadier General Sakhawat Hussain, who was the advisor Home Affairs and who was within a week of taking over as advisor Home Affairs to Dr. Yunus, was dismissed for two things, because he publicly said that after a thorough investigation, the bullets that were found in the protest areas could not be bullets emanating from weapons that could be used by students. One, he said anybody indulging in lawlessness and extortion would have their legs broken, and we have instructed the army, the police to take strong action. Two. And three, he said, he asked everyone concerned, don't destroy the legacy of the movements of 52, 69, and the Liberation War. Within a day of saying that, Sakhawat Hussain was transferred to textiles. In his place, you have Lieutenant General Jahangir Alam Chaudhary, who blamed India for the 2005 August 17th multiple grenade attacks in Bangladesh. And please remember that 459 time bombs went off in 63 out of 64 districts of Bangladesh on 17th August 2005. The Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh claimed responsibility for it. And in Dhaka, 28 such explosions took place in the Prime Minister's office, in the Supreme Court's office, in the Supreme Court complex, and Dhaka University, and the Zia International Airport. And incidentally, on 17th August 2005, these detonations took place exactly 2 hours after Khalida Zia left for China. And this is Jahangir Alam Chaudhary who blamed India for this. He has been appointed today as the advisor, Home Affairs, to Dr. Yunus. Of course, the Bengali Nobel laureates don't know, these things, so they are absolutely silent. I mean, they don't even know that Bengali Hindus are getting are getting bludgeoned in Bangladesh. They don't know who Jahangir Alam Chaudhary is, so they have no statements. I mean, in the last 8 months, they have made no statements. The other person, I'll give you just, I said I'll give two examples. The second example is advisor religious affairs. And Jahangir Alam Chaudhary famously or infamously said once when he was in his post, he said that why should people come from Bangladesh to India? Your economic situation is not better than Bangladesh's. There are 50,000 Indians in Bangladesh who have entered the country illegally. If India's economy was better than Bangladesh's, you would not have gone for work in the Middle East and the Arab countries. Mindset. I'm just showing you the mindset. Second is advisor religious affairs, AFM Khaled Hussain. Khaled Hussain is, please let us remember, is the Naib Amir of Hifazat-e-Islam and is advisor to the Islami Andolan of Bangladesh. And when Prime Minister Modi visited Dhaka on 26th March 2021, commemorating 50 years of the Liberation War, it was this Khaled Hussain who instigated and engineered protests against the Indian Prime Minister, which saw 13 deaths and rioting in Dhaka. So these are the people today who are manning the entire structure and the situation, the entire governance structure in Bangladesh. Now, I believe Ambassador Veena Sikri has already dwelt on this. She pointed out at the current situation, and all of you are much well versed. You know, the dollar shortage, the power crisis, the declining economy, and divisions within the students' movement. Today, we see the NCP coming up. We see the NCP coming up as a party. But the interesting part is that the NCP itself is torn between trying to project itself as a secular, progressive entity and from being beholden to the Jamaat. And a few days ago, NCP leader Hasnat Abdullah claimed that he had been presented with an Indian plan at the cantonment to rehabilitate Awami League. The moment he said this publicly, there were three leaders from his own party contradicting it. So it is very evident that on the one hand, you have a National Consensus and Reconciliation Commission which is working. On the other hand, you have a new political party which has come up, which is professing to lead Bangladesh towards a new dawn and not being beholden to India or to Pakistan. At the same time, it is very evident that the Jamaat is pulling the levers because there's otherwise no reason why Tariq Rahman is not yet back. Let Tariq Rahman come back. Let the BNP participate in the electoral process. Let the leader, the BNP's supreme leader, come back. He's not yet back even after 8 months. And the BNP has put forward a number of demands and amendments to the new proposed reform and the constitution. And one of the proposal to the new reformed constitution is that the August movement will be equated to the liberation war. Now, it is full of contradictions. How do you equate a movement to the liberation war, a movement which insists on destroying Bangabandhu statue, the father of the liberation war statue, gutted his house, completely ensured that nothing of the war, no war memory memorial remains, and then you equate that to the liberation war. So these are contradictions, that are continuously emanating from Bangladesh. Now, we know that Christian churches were attacked. When we talk about the situation in Bangladesh, the Christian churches were attacked. The Bangladesh Christian Association is on record giving you a list. Buddhist villages were attacked. Buddhist crematoriums were occupied. Ethnic tribal minorities were targeted. Land grabbing took place. More than 1,000 plus extortion cases and forced resignation of Hindus in senior academic positions. Vice chancellors of universities were compelled to resign. Over 1,500 teachers from colleges, schools, and universities were compelled to resign because they were Hindus. Hindu police officers were dismissed, and 1,000 Durga Pujas less were commemorated last year. And of course, we know what happened to the Jeshwareshwari Kali Mandir, and out of 19 pavilion across 14 districts were vandalized during Durga Puja. I'm just running you through this because it gives us an idea of the situation as it is today. And as I articulated Dr. Jaishankar's stand right at the beginning and Prime Minister's letter at the beginning, our position is very clear. India wants a stable, prosperous, democratic, secular, constitutionally driven Bangladesh. There's nothing that we have to gain with an unstable Bangladesh. But let us also remember that it is a Bangladesh where, and there is no international accountability. Our very close friend, our very dear elder friend, people like Shariar Kabir have been detained right from September. Journalists have been detained. But my point is, if you look at the Indian media is actually adopted an extremely balanced stand. It gives you the position of the Indian foreign minister. It gives you also the position of the Bangladeshi foreign advisor. The Indian media is more forthcoming in presenting the situation in Bangladesh than many others. One cannot whitewash, one cannot completely ignore what is happening to the minorities in Bangladesh today. So the Indian media, based on facts, is within its duty to report that. Now I'll just end with, I have about 3 minutes now. 3 minutes. I'll just end with running you through. I don't want to, because there's a lot that we can really speak about. Sharupda was insisting that I talk about Dr. Shama Prasad Mukherjee's, but that is history. I mean, Sharupda, we have many here are very eminent historians also. They have written sufficiently. Exchange of population was advocated by Dr. Shama Prasad Mukherjee, Sardar Patel, and Dr. Babasaheb Bhimrao Ambedkar. In his resignation letter of 19th April 1950, Shama Prasad Mukherjee talks about the beleaguered Hindus of Bangladesh. In his resignation letter of October 1951, Baba Sahib Ambedkar also speaks about the miserable plight of Hindus left behind in Pakistan, especially in East Pakistan. So that is there as part of history. But what I'm trying to say, and I want to conclude with this, is that let us also look in the last 10 years at the phenomenal support that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has given to Bangladesh in all parameters. You will bear me out, scholars of international relations, uh, whether it is support during COVID, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is trade, whether it is health, in all sectors, Bangladesh has received unstinting and unconditional support in the last 1 decade. And that is very clear. It is all recorded. But today, the situation is such, and this for Dr. Rajiv Nayan, because it is a polity in the throes of confusion. The Jamaat wants all political parties to be decimated, only one party rule, Sharia rule. The parties which supported the revolution, so called revolution, are now having second thoughts because they see before them an existential crisis. And that's why they want a desperate return to the democratic setup and to elections. And at the same time, they don't have the confidence, not the strength, not the wherewithal to counter entities like Hefazat, Jamaat, and the Shibir. And to compound to that, you have this Professor Shahiduz Zaman of Dhaka University. He talks about nuclearization of Bangladesh. And he says that, by nuclearization of Bangladesh, we don't mean that Bangladesh will develop its own nuclear weapons. It says, he says, Pakistan is the most reliable, trustworthy ally of Bangladesh. Pakistan doesn't want us to become a vassal state of India. Pakistan doesn't want us to become a vassal state of India. And they will do anything to protect us from Indians. And therefore, we need Bangladesh to be under the umbrella, nuclear umbrella of Pakistan. So I think that sums up the dilemma that Bangladeshi polity is facing. Let us hope that by the end of this year, as things are developing, and Arindam and we were discussing the continuously evolving situation in Bangladesh. Very difficult to track day in and day out, but certainly it's at a very interesting inflection point. We have our strategic imperatives. Under no circumstances will obviously India give up her strategic imperatives because it is India first. Our Northeast is our Northeast, it is crucial to us. And Northeast is our gateway to Southeast Asia, it needs to be protected. Hindus, Buddhists, and Christians in Bangladesh have our unstinting solidarity and support. And it is our continued duty to keep the issue alive, because many in India and abroad would want us to be silent on it. There are some who advocate dialogue with anti-liberation forces. I don't know what that means, because I know what anti-liberation forces, who they are, but I don't know what dialogue means with them and where it is going to lead to. And therefore, I think that exercises such as these are extremely crucial and important. And I hope it continues this way, multicity, at multiple levels and on a continuous basis till there is a democratic return in Bangladesh. Thank you so much.